How to catch titles. Does that sound nice? No, it doesn't even make sense, right? Because that's a headline you'd be like, huh? What was that? Instead, it should be how to write catchy titles, descriptions, and headlines. That sounds much better, right? When you have more structure in your delivery. So this conversation is heavy on content that starts off with titles and messages. This is going to be a very exciting room because we're going to really bring in something valuable that you as a business owner can definitely look at and say, here is where I, as a business, would love to explore in the area of finding results when you're searching for content that is being seen across the web. Now, when you're writing catchy titles, you're writing catchy descriptions, you're writing catchy headlines, these are very specific keyframes. And what do I mean by this? When we look at metadata, right? And that's just another way of saying, how do we get context out of this content? So context would be who is the author of this blog, who is the host of this show, what is the title of the show, how long is the show. Those are attributes to the show. That's the context to the content. So when you write catchy titles, when you write catchy descriptions, when you write catchy headlines, these are the specific things that people are going to look at, that they're going to read before they even find your content in the first place. So creating engaging and effective headlines is one of the major essentials that you need to attract people to click on your page, to click on your site, to click on your brand, to click on your image. These are very specific things that boost visibility, because when you increase engagement, that engagement is through clicking. If they don't click, they didn't engage. That's really the goal. If somebody clicks and finds your content valuable, resourceful, accurate, and responsive, then anything that you're going to do from SEO, which is search engine optimization. Welcome, Natalia. Thank you for being here. Anything from SEO to PPC ads, which is pay-per-click ads. There's email subject lines, right? These are things that you're able to use consistently. There are YouTube titles, right? These are things that you can do. There's LinkedIn newsletters. These are things that you can do. Topics, titles, headlines, and tools that you can use on a daily basis to help you maximize your impact. This is where optimization comes in when it comes to writing catchy titles. Now, when you're thinking about writing a catchy title, you have to think about where you're writing this title or who you're writing this title for. You can't just write a title. If it's a title, is it a book title? Is it a podcast title? Is it a movie title? Is it a blog title? Is it a podcast title? What type of title is it? And that title has to be catchy. It has to make sense to the person that's reading it. And it definitely has to make sense to you first. So when you're creating content, especially for search engines, because we're talking about SEO here too, how do you create these characters that build a title? When you think about titles are in form of words, right? So how many words do we need to make it catchy? We don't need too much. We just need to make sure that what we're talking about or what we're saying makes sense. So if you're listening to this episode, it's because you want to learn how to write catchy titles, descriptions, and headlines. That's because you need solutions to help you write better. And if you're looking for those solutions, it starts off with understanding what you're doing now and what you could be doing better. And if what you're doing now is working, how could you make it better? If what you're doing now is not working, how can you make it better? at the end of the day, you're still going to make it better than the last version. So your next version should be better than your last version, right? That's why even in music, I'm in the entertainment business industry, your next hit should be better than your last hit for you to stay relevant, right? So for you to now stay relevant in terms of titles, blogs, copy, context, it has to make sense. Yeah, you could have a catchy title, but if that title is clicked on and you're not backing up that title with context that's going to allow someone to read, what's that context? Questions, tables, infographics, FAQs, podcast episodes, insights, statistics, whatever it is that you're going to use as a medium of exchange to give someone that value is going to be very essential for them to creating that result. So what are the things you have to think about? You have to think about the character count when it comes to descriptions, headlines, titles, subject lines, whatever it is that you're using for monetization, for activation, for suggestions, for anything of that regard. If you're able to do that, it will give you a much better display and a much better result over time. Now, Google specifically have about 600 pixels that would take your title to have a full length display without it being truncated, without having the ellipsis. You know, when you look at titles and it has those 3 dots, that's because your title is longer than the pixel size. So if your pixels become wider or longer than what is the essential standard, then it's going to be cut off. And they won't tell you that. You're supposed to know that. But if you don't know that, then they'll just, follow their rules. And it's not even good for either party, because it doesn't look good for Google, because it doesn't look nice on screen. And also it doesn't look good for you, because whatever you're supposed to show on display is not being seen. So it's a lose-lose. Either way, you want to make that a positive, which will be a win-win. You can now turn that into how you can truncate your own titles and make them within that 600 pixel limit. Now, 600 pixels is basically around, 50 to 70 characters, depending on how you spread your words. Because when you also think about your words, it's not just the words that you say or the words that you write. It's also the capital letters. It's also the emojis. It's also the small caps. It's going to be the sentence case. It's going to be very specific, because if you put a capital W and a small w, those are 2 different pixel sizes, right? The capital W has more weight than a small w. A capital L has more weight than a small l. So when you start looking at these specific frames, you don't just look at words as just words, because words have meaning and they have weight. That weight they carry is a pixel size digitally. So when you look at 70 characters max, you want to stay at least between 50 to 80% of that amount. So if you're looking at that, you're thinking about anywhere between, 35 to, let's say, even 65 characters. 65 would be the best fit, because you're able to stay within a threshold that still gives room for more. That's about 7 to 10 words. So if you continuously give people words that they read, and you can put these words in a way that is not truncated, and people can find these words within a character limit, that's going to be a good thing for you, because it's going to be very concise. And when it improves the visibility and the click-through rate in your search results, whether it's Google search or Bing search or Yandex search or DuckDuckGo search or Bravo search or WebGuide by Google or ChatGPT Atlas or Perplexity Comet or Cloud or DeepSeek or wherever you go, all these titles are going to come back. And when you now think about the descriptions and the headlines of your titles, that's going to play a big role. And that's going to change everything. So when you think about the character count, now you know, okay, I have an inventory of 10 words. How can I use these 10 words wisely? Now that you know that, the next thing is to figure out how do I say this to make this make sense? How do you write titles that are going to allow someone to feel like what they're reading will allow them to stay reading? Now, this is what I mean. If you want someone to find this sweet spot, then you have to also do some research. I've done some research for you. So if you Google Orbit Media, they did a study and they said that around 55 characters is a really good sweet spot for title length. And it's going to be good because it's not too short, because it's not giving the search results a truncated vibe in a way that it makes it look less than. Because when you look at a title, the title has to be in full, because when it's in full, it allows you to have the full effect, right? So it's not short because it can be visibly seen, and it's also not long to the point where it's now truncated, right? So it's around 55 characters is a really good size because it's not vague and it's also not overbearing. So when you're able to have that sweet spot, it can help. Now, another thing to note is when you look at these things specifically, you have to also think about those 7 to 10 words. Now, I don't know if you know this, but Moz also did a study, and Moz.com. They did a study too. And right now, as it is, when you think about click-through rate, anywhere between 36%, and I also kind of give it a benchmark of 38%, is going to be a good click-through rate for you, because headlines that have numbers perform better than those that don't. And that increases you by about 36%. Hey Mo, hey hi, and glad to have you as well here, AI Conversation Copywriters. Good to see you. It's been a while. These are things that you have to think about. Add numbers. Now you say, okay, I have 10 words. What am I going to do with these 10 words? I have a title. I need to fulfill about 70 characters. I have 10 words. Now, how do I add numbers to these words? And how do I make these words fit with these numbers? So when you start thinking about that, it allows someone to think about their time. When you say 100 ways to clean your house, okay, then maybe tomorrow I come back and say 10 ways to clean your house. You're going to value your time when you click on that link, because when you're clicking on that link, psychologically, you're telling yourself and you're aware that you have 100 minutes to spend, or you have 10 minutes to spend. Most people will click 10 than 100. 100 would be like, maybe that would be a lead magnet or a PDF or an ebook. You know, I would split it up that way as opposed to a blog, which would be long, compared to having 10, right? Because if it's 10, then those are 10 quick things people can do, which is a good size. It's a round number, or I can say a round figure. And that's still going to impact the time they're going to spend. So if that 10 points that they have to read through, or let's say those 10 points specifically have action points attached to them, or maybe Amazon finds or product links or whatever you may call it has that attachment, and let's say it potentially is a 10-minute read, someone's going to spend 10 minutes reading this to figure out which one out of the 10 is the best solution for their home. So what you've done is you've brought 10 types of home cleaners, 10 types of people, or 10 different personalities that are coming to one place. So you've compounded 10 types of people times 10 listings on one page. That's 10 times 10, right? So when you think about 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, you're now thinking about the number of people who are going to compound on that same thing. So when you have a catchy title, welcome Denara, thank you for being here. When you have a catchy title, when you have a catchy description, when you have a catchy headline, and it contains numbers, that's going to also increase your effect. You can do research from other places. I'm just giving you options that you can start with. But when you start looking at these things, when you think about structure, and you're thinking about digesting information and scanning information, that's what people are doing. If I wrote here 3 ways to write catchy titles, we'd be here all day. But right now I wrote how to write catchy titles, descriptions, and headlines because I want to cover more than that. So it depends on the intention. And we talked about that yesterday, intention and trends. So if I talk about how to do this, I want to stick to how to do it, because someone that learns how to do something, they need to be kinesthetic. They want to learn how it's done. If I say three ways, okay, I have three options, but am I going to take action on them? That's a conditional logic. So when you think about the how to, it's informational, it's resourceful, it's educational, and it adds value. So someone can say, okay, maybe I need to add numbers to my titles, and let's see if I do better than before. And if that actually happens and you test that theory and it works, great. If it doesn't work, it's probably not for your industry. Test something else. But it doesn't mean that it's not going to work for you. It may not be working for you because you're probably not using it correctly. Maybe the numbers you're using should be used within the context of what people should click on, or what they're interested in, or who their market is. So when you start thinking about these numbers, let them have a better way of representing value. Another thing that I got to know is that, and you can also do your research on this too, because I always give you information that I research on, and I let you do yours research too, so we can talk about it, because sharing is caring. Now, I don't know if you know this, but welcome Talitha and Rita. I don't know if you know this, but odd numbers do better than even numbers online. Odd numbers do better than even numbers online. So when you have odd numbers, 7, 5, 3, instead of 6, 4, 2, you just heard me say those numbers, and I'm sure there's a way you felt. Because those numbers, when you hear them, it gives you a certain amount of time to consider. So when you're thinking about catchy titles, catchy descriptions, catchy headlines, you're thinking about the base value. So you're going to start off the base with 3, not 2. That's why there's small, medium, large. If you're looking for coffee, do you want it in small, medium, or large? You're not going to hear small, medium, large, extra, extra large. At that point, you got stuck at number 2. So you want to make it easy for someone to read, for them to think through. And at the same time, consider syllables, because the more syllables people are using to repeat the same word or the same thought that you process to them, it's going to take a longer time for them to process if it's a longer syllable, I would say, workflow. So you have to also be considerate on how they are also thinking about those things too. So use your numbers wisely. And when you use numbers wisely, use percentages, use brackets. These are things that you can use as well. They're going to increase your click-through rate. It's going to go to the roof. Using brackets, that can help you about 38%. Using numbers, that's about 36%. So when you start thinking about these numbers and you're like, oh, if I add numbers, if I add this and that, it helps. Like, just to give you a clear example, when you click the link above, you'll get to see emails and get really good insights, because I talk about these things in depth. And I also get to know what you like, what you need, and what you want to do for 2026 and beyond, so I can be able to help you. And these emails come in exclusively. So if you click the link above and you want to learn more about it, if you need insights, if you want to hire an SEO agency to help you with your marketing for your business, the link is above. Put your first name, best email, and you'll be redirected to get on a call with me, and you can schedule a time at your convenience at any time you want within the calendar that's open for you too. So when you start looking at these things, it's going to help you increase your traffic. Web traffic is very easy to attract. Now, there's a difference between having web traffic and web conversions, right? Because I can send traffic to a website, 100,000 people go to this website, but if I don't get at least 1% of the people who visited this website and get their contacts, do I really value this 100,000 website visits? Does it really make sense to my bottom line? Does it add value to my business? Am I able to use it better for analysis? It's really up to you to decide that. But if you're able to read that data and know, okay, 100,000 people visited from this place, from this place, from this place, then let me run ads to these places that first came here organically and retarget, remarket. That's why it's called retarget and remarket, because you're going back to the same place you came from or they came to for you to meet in the middle. So when you start thinking about creating engaging content, people can start seeing things, because when you start using brackets, for example, people can start seeing, okay, they're going to read the brackets and they'll know this is what I'm expecting to see. If I say video or if I say podcast episode, I've already preconditioned the content, because now you have come here because you've seen that there's a video. Now you've clicked on it because you want to watch the video that you've seen through the text. If it's an infographic, if it's a guide, if it is an audio, if it is something specific, then that's going to be something they're going to look at. It's going to provide additional information without even making your title feel long. Because if I now say best practices, or let me even say this way, I want to give you like something nice to look at. Best digital marketing strategies. And then I put video at the end in brackets. Or best digital marketing strategies on video. It now sounds like, okay, that ON, you now put a preposition. Now it's like, okay, I gotta use this word, and now those are pixels I've spent. Because think about it, when you're spending time, you're spending words, you're spending thoughts, you're spending processes, right? So when you're writing these words, would you read the same words and be able to click on the words you read? That's a big question. So when you think about the trust and the authority and the specificity of the content that you want to give people, you have to think about what they're reading. So if it's brackets, if it's odd numbers, if it's very concise content, that way they can use it to really see what they're looking for. Yeah, definitely. That's something that you can do, which will also help you as a business, because these things are going to resonate globally, and it's going to resonate in a way that's going to also allow you to have that improvement in attention and retention, right? So when you think about these things, you have to think about what you're using them for. So we have 10 words. We want to use these 10 words. We want to use them correctly. We want to put numbers. We want to put brackets if we need to. It's not all the time, but if we want to make more action resulted clicks, then we can use these things to get more of our content across. So if you know that you're going to write a 3-minute piece of article or a 30-minute interview, those are things that people can understand because they're able to see that. Now, you also have to think about power words, right? There are power words and there are emotional words too. Now, there's a website you can go to. I just want to give you a website that you can use, because I know it's like, okay, we hear all this stuff, but how do we do this after hearing this? I want to give you a place you can start. Go to CapitalizeMyTitle.com. CapitalizeMyTitle.com/headline-analyzer. I'll say that again. Go to CapitalizeMyTitle.com/headline-analyzer. I've put the link in the description. I've put the link in the chat, so you can click on it if you want to check it out and see it for yourself. This is something for you to see. Hey, Marcella, thank you for being here. Hey, Claudia, appreciate you for being here today. So these are the things that you want to write. And if you look at this link I put in the chat, you're going to see all the power words I was talking about. They're emotional words, they're uncommon words, they're common words, they're weasel words, all kinds of words. Like, I think today when you think about words, hey, Nikki, glad to see you here. If you think about words and using these words wisely and being concise yet descriptive and incorporating things that will help you get more bang for your buck when you start thinking about using retention as opposed to just attracting attention without retaining it, this is where it comes down to. So this link in the chat is going to help you as well. Hey, what's up, Nikki? It's been a while since you've been here. So happy December, everyone. I hope you're well. In a week from now, it's going to be my birthday, and I'm going to be doing something special on the 26th. So I'll definitely be here and I'll give you guys some stuff. So I don't know what time of the day, probably in the morning, maybe around, like 10 or 11 Central, we'll see. But I'll definitely be here to do something really special with y'all. So just follow me and you can click on my face here, and then you're going to see 3 dots where you're going to be able to now choose. If you're not following me, you can follow me and then choose your notification settings and turn it to always, so that when I do open a room, you'll be able to get a notification from Clubhouse. I'm excited that you're here because these titles and these topics, I said I'm going to come here and give you guys some insight so you can use these things and build them for yourself. Because when you use these words and you use these words in a way that helps, it's going to make life easier for you. When you now use these words that I've put in the chat, and you now use them, power words, emotional words, uncommon words. These are the words that you're going to use that will help people understand what you're saying. If I say luxury flights, and then the next line says affordable flights, and then the other one says cheap flights. If you're looking for something that's cost effective, you're more likely to click on affordable flights. If you may click on something else, please let me know in the chat. But that's psychologically what most people may put into, because they're going to get different options. It's not going to be so high. It's going to be not so low. It's going to be reasonable. It's going to be feasible. It's going to make sense. And it's also going to make sense. SENSE and CENTS. So when you are creating words and you're using these words wisely, whether it's capital words or small letter words, these words have to match. So use these power words because they're going to help you increase value. It's going to communicate urgency. It's going to communicate exclusivity. It's going to communicate value over time. So that's where you're supposed to use these things in a good way. And when you think about titles, there are different types of ways to write titles, by the way. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but there are different types of ways to write titles, especially when it comes to standardization, right? When you think about capitalization of words and readability, credibility, these are words that you're using, whether it's an APA format or a Chicago format or a wiki format or an AMA format or an MLA format. These are different formats that you can Google and say, okay, what are the different formats of writing? There are very many. There are very many. So when you think about what you're writing, whether it's prepositions or articles, or it's capitalizing your words or putting them in a sentence case, or using formal communication or casual communication, whether it's for marketing emails, promotional emails, the list is endless. These are the things that you want to start doing for yourself, because when you start writing these titles on a Pinterest pin, on a reel, on an Instagram page, it's going to change. Speaking of Instagram changing, let me give you guys something to think about. Something just happened. Instagram, I don't know if you're aware, but if you've updated your Instagram account, your Instagram app, first of all, they've changed the layout. This is just sidebar. They've changed the layout, and this happened yesterday. I saw this yesterday. So I don't know if it's global, it's national, it's I don't know what is going on, but it's changing. And I saw this happening because I saw a hint of it happening, I think close to 2 to 3 weeks ago, where I saw that Instagram is about to turn into TV. You remember back in the day when there was IGTV? It's coming back, but now on an actual television. So they're changing the way they're doing things, and it's for a reason. So when you think about Instagram now turning into TV content, they're limiting hashtags, right? Very much limiting hashtags, increasing on DM messaging, which is going to automate and help you to have a much better experience. These things are changing right before us. So why am I saying this? It's because these are the same platforms that we're going to go to write these types of content pieces in form of words. We're going to use words. We're going to use captions. We're going to use auto-generated captions. We're going to use all types of messages. So when we start thinking about optimizing our titles, optimizing our keywords, optimizing our content, we have to think about keeping our titles very concise, because the more concise your titles are, the more engaging they are, and the more keyword based they are for the intent of the searcher, is going to make it easier for you. And now we're talking about headlines, right? We're talking about captions. We're talking about titles, which is great. Don't forget that these titles and these descriptions and these headlines also have a base, especially for websites. If you have a title, right? I'll just give you a social media example, and I'll give you a website example. Here's a social media example. If you go to LinkedIn and you, let's say, want to write an article or a newsletter, the title of your newsletter on LinkedIn is going to automatically display as a URL, a uniform resource locator, in the form of a link. And that link is going to be shown when you click on it if somebody wants to access that article on LinkedIn. So if that article on LinkedIn shows up on Google and someone says, I'm looking for SEO strategies, I'm looking for real estate advice, I'm looking for food tips, or I'm looking for, leadership practices or best practices, whatever you want to search for. If somebody somewhere put those words exactly the way you typed it into a system that was put into a link and now has a page that is accessible on the internet, that creates a big effect for you, because that person that's looking for that exact match is going to match with you because you wrote it sometime in the past or some day around that year. So when you now start writing content that's matching those exact frames, it's going to be an exact title match, and it's also going to be an exact URL match. Now on LinkedIn, you can change it, but you can only change it once. That's the only thing about LinkedIn. You can change it many times on your website, but you can't change it more than once on LinkedIn, which makes sense. You don't own LinkedIn, but you own your website. So there's a section in the newsletter when you write the title and you hit settings and you want to now go to the SEO settings. There's a section that says create title. When you click create title, or now, if you know what you were writing on LinkedIn and you knew the amount of words you had, the amount of characters you had, the amount of symbols you had, the amount of pixels you had, and you know that this is going out on the web, you'll be very mindful on how people are reading, because people are also reading based on syllables. So the more syllables they have to read, the more their brain has to process what you're saying. So the shorter the syllables, when you use alliteration, when you start using all these different things that we learn with English, it now makes your content even colorful, right? Content colorful, that's alliteration. So when you hear those kinds of CC words and you're building blocks, BB, people are listening because they're understanding and it's not making them process harder. That's why people love poems. I said people, poems, PP. I'm just speaking. So when you start saying these things and people start listening, you're going to give them something easy to listen to. The easier it is for someone to listen to you, the higher the frequency and the faster the response. So don't make it harder for the algorithm to, thank you for the 100 pats. Don't wait for the algorithm to tell you what you need to do. Let your algorithm structure within your sitemap, which comes from your website, which comes from your content base, gives you a much directive response for allowing people to learn more about you in a much more concise way. So if I say 3 tips you can use for digital marketing, that sounds very long. But if I say digital marketing tips, 3 ways for 2026, you'll be like, okay, 2026, that's short and that's future tense. So you start thinking about a lot of things that will help your business, your content, and your consumer behavior pattern have a much wider network and a much wider scope. So use these things and it will help you long term. Keep it short, keep it simple, create curiosity, let people know these things. I was just mentioning, I was talking about this morning, that I got featured this week. I just had to take it in all week. And I said, you know what, before I send an email, before I send anything to anybody, let me just take it in myself. I got a feature this week, and I'm just going to tell you guys too. I got a feature this week it's called FeedSpot. Shout out to FeedSpot. Now, FeedSpot featured my podcast as the top 100 best marketing podcast 2025. I'm going to put the link in the chat for you to see for yourself. Thank God for Apple. So you just have a Mac and you just copy, you paste it, and it's right there. So this is the capital. Actually, let me do this real quick. I got to copy this, paste it. All right, perfect. So I didn't paste it from my Mac. So I had to copy it first. All right. That's why you have a double there. So I just copied. And for those who are in the room, you get a bonus. So those are two titles. The CapitalizeMyTitle.com, that's for the headline we talked about. You can use that for headline analyzing. And then the last link I put is for the marketing podcast so that you can actually see the list. Thank you, Annette. I appreciate that. Yeah. And I was number 2. I'm the second on the list out of the top 100. The person ahead of me is Gary V. Shout out to you, Gary V. And it's crazy because Gary V, if you don't know this, probably this is a fun fact some people probably don't know. But when I started podcasting in 2019, that was in August 12, 2019. It was in 2017. Yeah, 2017 is when I got to, really get into podcasting because I have a radio background. I've worked at radio stations before and I've been on radio and I've been live on radio too. So, and I've seen it from 2 different countries as well. And now I'm like, okay, let me get into radio because I feel like this is a natural. I'm not forcing it. This is just cool. We can talk, we can chill, we can have a conversation and that's it. And we make sure we make sense of our communication. Now, I've been doing this for a while, and then in around 2017, I thought about podcasting, and I said, okay, maybe it's time to go into it, because in 2011, I said I want to do internet radio one day. One day I want to do internet radio at that time. And then it morphed into digital streaming, because I already have a musical background. I'm a self-taught drummer, and I make music. So I make jingles, even for my podcast. I make jingles. This year, we've launched 28 podcast shows for other clients, and it's been amazing. Everyone in their own. We just launched one last week. They did their trailer last week, and they launched their first episode, their second episode this week. So they have 3 episodes, a trailer and 2 new episodes. Shout out to Lunch with Leaders. If you're a woman in STEM, that's a really great, podcast for you to listen to. So there are many shows out there that are coming up. And in a year, the sad news is, which shouldn't be, but we just hope for the best, is that 500,000 people quit podcasting every year. This year, at least 500,000 people have quit podcasting. And people don't get to their 8th episode, which means they don't get to their 2nd month. Because if you're dropping 1 episode a week, that means for 8 weeks, you've dropped 8 episodes in 2 months. My podcast has 600 episodes. So how many, and we're going to year 7. We'll call it season 12. So when I first started podcasting, I was thinking about podcasting, but I didn't want to just start haphazardly. I wanted to be very intentional with my time and what I wanted to do with my show. So what did I do? I went online, of course, did my research. At the time, that was 2017. And then around 2018, I said, okay, let me get this seriously. Let me understand this podcasting game, because when you start distributing music, Apple Music, Spotify, all these platforms where you listen to music, even Tidal, YouTube Music, there's so many places you can distribute music to. It comes from a source, right? And this source is coming from is very important, because it's going to come from a base, right? If let's say you're distributing music through DistroKid, that's where I distribute my music from. There's TuneCore, right? There's, I think, CD Baby. There are so many platforms that you can use. There are independent labels that you can also use too for distribution. That's on the musical side. On the podcast side, there's Spotify for Creators, which used to be called Anchor.fm, which is still free till today. And that's what even Gary V is using. That's why I started off my podcast on Spotify for Creators, and at the time it was called Anchor.fm. That's why I'm mentioning Gary V, because when I was looking online, I was like, who's doing podcasting? Who is a good person out here that is actually doing good stuff for the community, that's building that people's, confidence in themselves? Like, I want people like that. I want to know who out there is doing it. So I knew Gary V is, doing this and is rocking, and he's still doing it to this day. And I said, okay, let me understand and see where these podcasters are. So I saw Gary Vee's podcast and I was like, okay, I like his podcast. I follow it. And I was like, how did he get this over here? So my curious self just decided to start doing research. And that's how I was able to find his podcast on Anchor. And I said, okay, I'm going to start my podcast on Anchor. So that's why I'm saying that, circle back, now 2025, I'm 2nd place on the top 100 best marketing podcast shows, and he's 1st and I'm 2nd. So it's mind blowing. Annette, wow. It's mind blowing. And I'm just grateful because these are the things that I see every day. And I'm just like, okay, if he can do it, I can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. So there's so much room for everyone. But if you don't quit, you just may never know. Just don't quit. Like, just put one episode a week. And trust me, you have 24 hours. Imagine putting 5 minutes of your voice on a machine, on a digital streaming platform that will get you to places that you've never been to, just because you were able to distribute it in a very compact, but also a very sequential way. This is how podcasting works for me. And if it wasn't for me starting my podcast, I would not be on Clubhouse, because I came to Clubhouse November 24th, 2020, because I wanted to extend my podcast show after a year of being, podcasting and just starting a whole new different world. So now I have a whole podcast. Now my podcast is on Amazon, and that's where I moved from Spotify to Amazon. And now my podcast, I'm able to run commercials. Before you listen to my episode, you've probably heard 3 commercials, from 3 different businesses. So now it's like, okay, now we want to monetize. Now we want to grow. We've done the work. We did this for free for 6 years. Now we're able to still benefit, but at the same time, still give more. So it's definitely something to think about. That's the We Don't Play podcast, wedon'tplaypodcast.com. So these are the things that will help you as a business to understand that if you're thinking about your content and building your content out there, it has to make sense. And it also has to make sense too. And the two sense I'm talking about. So when you write catchy titles, when you write catchy descriptions, when you write catchy headlines, these are the things that will help your business grow. Annette says, Favour, what are your thoughts on Podbean podcast platform? That's a great question. And I like how you use the alliteration there too, podcast platform with Podbean. Yes, Podbean is amazing. Podbean is a great tool. And I would definitely say, yes, that's a platform you can use. When it comes to choosing your podcast platform, any platform is fine. As long as, for me, this is what I would say, as long as they are podcast compliant. Now you're going to be like, what does that even mean? I'm going to put a link in the chat so that you can see this. You can go to IAB Tech Lab. For those listening, you can go to iabtechlab.com/compliance-programs/companies/pound or hashtag podcast-compliance. I know it's a mouthful, but you can click the link. I just wanted to vocally say it. But you can click the link in the chat, and that will take you to, I'll call this a standardization chart, because it tells you all the podcast platforms that are in the world that people use. And Podbean is there too. So Podbean is a good platform. They got certified. Their last certification was 2024. They renewed November 21st. Yeah, you can see all the platforms out there. So this is what I use to justify. Of course, this is now 6 years later. In the beginning, I was not doing this deep research. I was just trying to get on the show. But now I've been able to look back and I'm like, I want to help more people, get to understand this, because it's not hard. It's just not rocket science. But as long as you know how they say, better, you do better. That's what I want to help you do, because I knew better. So I did better, and now I'm doing better. So I want you to do better too. So that link in the chat will help you see where your podcast is. And if you like it, you can use it. And it's a great way to get your show started. So these are the things to think about as a business when you think about your titles and your descriptions, your headlines. When you start using a podcast to start writing titles, when you start sending emails to write titles, when you start building, I would say, blocks. In other words, creating videos, series, blogs, books, whatever it is that you're doing. These are the things that are going to help your business grow. So all the points I mentioned earlier today will help you take the next best action. So if you want more information like this, click the link above, and that's going to take you to where you can sign up, get in touch with me. We can talk, have a conversation, and make sure that you can do this greatly. And podcast SEO is very deep, and I'm going to be talking about that more and more. And actually, what I want to give you an insight on is if you sign up and you connect with me here, you're going to be getting an email too, because I'm talking about a self-study, a self-guide digital marketing masterclass where you can do it by yourself for 12 weeks. And I'm covering everything because I've been working with clients. Like this year, we've served at least 85 clients. And it's been a blessing to see them in different ways, from websites to podcasts to Pinterest to digital marketing to SEO to everything else possibly. Consulting, it's been a beautiful thing to see. And what I've noticed is that the more people that come, they ask the same questions, or they ask the same questions in different ways, or they're in different industries, but they need the same result from the same fundamentals. So I said, you know what? Instead of me stressing with time, let me buy my time back and help you save your time by giving you something that you can do for yourself if you want to learn these specific actions that we take with clients, and you can get it for yourself because it's going to be a self-study guide you can complete in a week to 12 weeks, depending on how fast you process them. But that's something that I've been able to do. And think about this as 12 hours, because when you work with us as a client, we work with you once a week. So think about once a week for 12 weeks, that's 12 hours. So 12 hours out of 12 weeks of your time investment, what does that give you for the rest of the year? So if we're dealing with 12, right? And then there are 52 weeks in a year, and we're just using 12 out of those 52, you have 40 weeks back. So if you have 40 weeks, what are you going to do with those 40 weeks that you couldn't have done that you can do now? So if you think about your time investment, that's it right there. And that says, appreciate it. I was a guest on that platform speaking about my new PE program, which launched this year. Congratulations. That's dope. You know what? I would love to feature you as well. And it would be great, definitely, to connect with you. So I will reach out and have you on the podcast if you like, and we can feature you as well. We feature guests. It's a mixture of roundtable, solo, and interview. And it's beautiful that you're doing this for people out there. So this is good to hear. I love this. You know, this is where we come to understand that when we're creating content, it's not for ourselves, it's for people. I'm not doing this for myself. I'm doing this for you, because I know one day, someday, you're going to need this information. And when you find it, you'll be happy you found it, because you didn't have to stress or look for it elsewhere, because you probably wasn't finding it. And that's probably what got you in the first place, looking for it in the first place. So that's why I want to make sure that whatever you find is accessible and it's retentive. So thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. And that says, Pratt says, I was reading a net and then I had to refresh my screen. Pratt says, I just hopped onto your LinkedIn. I'm going to take some inspiration from there. Thank you, and God bless you with favor. Amen. Appreciate you too, Pratt. And yes, I'll connect with you on LinkedIn. If you hit on my face, I have all my links there. And Annette says, excellent. Let's connect. I'd love to be a guest. Thank you. You are welcome. And speaking of guests, I'm about to interview somebody on my show in the next 10 minutes, because I'm going to be having an interview with somebody I have never met before. And it's always exciting to meet new people all over the world. My podcast now is in 156 countries being streamed. So it's just amazing to see where everybody, like, I think this month, actually, Malaysia, shout out to Malaysia. In September, I think it was Brazil. You know, some countries just come out of the blue, just like they just pop up, boom, and like we're here, we're listening. Then another country comes. Then the other time it was the UK. I just see different countries, and I'm so grateful for each and every country that's listening to the show. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of this amazing conversation. And I hope this title helped you on how to write catchy titles, descriptions, and headlines. If you want to learn how to write catchy titles, descriptions, and headlines, subject headlines, preview text, all types of text and context, use these tools that I've mentioned today and rewind, apply, rewind, apply, rewind, apply. The more you apply, the better it is. Perfection is not doing it once. It's doing it more than once. The more you perfect it, the better you are. I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes. I don't know everything, but the more I'm able to fail forward and learn better and do better, then I would know better, so I can do better after and show somebody else the way that way they don't have to do what I did. So that's why I'm helping you now, because I've been 6 years into podcasting. Thank you, Marcella. I appreciate that. 6 years into podcasting, and what I'm helping you learn and save 6 years of understanding is what you're getting in 1 hour, in 12 hours of a masterclass. So it's really up to you to decide where you want to be in the future and how you want to position yourself. So click the link above, sign up. The replays are on. You can listen to this, come back, and I hope this helped you and gave you some insight. So thank you, Hi. Thank you, Prats. Thank you, Mo. Thank you, Marcella. Thank you, Annette. Thank you for everybody that has been here listening to me. And I hope and pray that you have a blessed and wonderful week ahead, a wonderful weekend. And I'll see you here next week. Definitely same time, same place. You already know how this is. This is a marketing club. And I hope this has helped you and given you some insights as well. So take care and have a wonderful weekend. Now, that was an episode, right? Thank you so much for listening to the We Don't Play podcast show. I'm so glad that you're here and you are sticking tight with us, especially to the very end. Now, this is season 11 and we're going to do it differently. And I want to make sure that every episode you listen to has something to give back so that you can also learn more after you listen. Now, We Don't Play podcast show is where you listen, you live, you learn, and you earn. So if you're in any of those positions out of those 4, please make sure that you reach out to me. Send out an email through info@playinc.online. That's info@playinc.online. Or you could go to playinc.online, which is a website, www.playinc.online, playinc.online, and schedule a call so that we can get you on an SEO discovery call to talk about your business and help you with your marketing needs. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope this helped you. See you in the next episode. God bless you. Jesus loves you.